Okay, I think it's back.
Okay, I think my microphone's back. Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name's Brogan, and today we are back for another chart stream. So, let me make sure I'm ready. Okay, so where do we leave off with? We were, talking about how far we're coming down, how fast we're coming down, all these sorts of things. And what I left off with on Bitcoin anyway, I haven't really looked at anything other than Bitcoin. I haven't really bothered. I couldn't really be bothered to look at anything else. So it's only really just been Bitcoin. And it's just I never learn, do I? I never learn. The amount of times, and I can only count on like 2 times to be fair, because of late anyway, of me talking about this. But in terms of having one thing on the screen and then having my own opinion, which isn't even the chart, and then getting it wrong, and then just saying the wrong thing. So we were talking about, obviously, I was saying, well, I think it was like 185 or something, whichever price it was. I was like, well, this is what I have on the chart, but I have a feeling that we could come up higher. We didn't go up higher. We didn't go to 120. We didn't do any of that. I just didn't even do any of that at all. It wasn't even in the realm of thought. So that is another slap on the wrist for me, for just even thinking like I could say anything in my own opinion about the charts, which isn't looking at the actual charts. Stupid. Anyway, where we are right now for Bitcoin. 112.8. I was quickly going over not quickly going the chart, but I was kind of just like sketching some stuff onto it, just to have like an idea of what I was going to talk about. But I obviously haven't fully gone through it. Also have a lot of stuff on the chart as of this latest move, which we're going to need to clean up together as a collective of people. That Dora the Explorer stuff. Okay, I've got a lot of things I've got to clean up, and you can help me do that. But hopefully everyone as well. I haven't actually read the chat yet. I will do that in a second. Let me just alt-tab quickly though. There we go. Just go to Binance Square. Perfect. So we've got Binance Square up. Hello to everyone on Binance Square. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Hello to people on Binance Live. I do not have you up. I am treating you like the run of the pack of dogs. I'm not feeding you. I'm leaving you outside, and I'm not ever going to talk to you. And then we've got YouTube, obviously the pedigree dog, the purebred, getting all the special treatment, all the treats, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah. Anyway, thank you all for being here. Appreciate you all. Let me read the chat. My chat is not loading. Give me a second. The stream has just not started well. My mic wasn't on. All these sorts of things. I'm trying to load everything up. And yeah, I'm going to restart my YouTube. There we go. Okay. I think we have it up now. Tito, good morning. Good evening. Sorry. This is not good. This is great. This is not. If someone's here, and then when you get a basketball scout and they're watching the game and they're seeing someone, and then someone realizes they're being watched and then performs horribly. It's kind of what it feels like. This isn't my performance normally. If you're new to the channel or new to the stream, it's just one of those days. Let me dismiss that quickly. There we go. Tio, good evening to you. I am very good. Hopefully you're doing good as well. Thank you for being here. KB's here. Appreciate you being here. And Mags and Mike is also here moderating. I didn't see any Kishan in the initial chat, so I guess we've missed him today. That's okay. I didn't start my timer. I need to start my timer. This is awful. This is the worst stream I've done in a long time. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, let's jump back to the charts. Back to coin market cap. 112.840. I did see someone say in Binance Square, what happens next for Bitcoin? We will get to that when we go into Bitcoin. I will give my best guess, obviously not financial advice. So 5.5% down 7-day, 3.29% down 24-hour. So pretty far down. I mean, we kind of expected this. I mean, considering the move we had and what we were doing, I don't think this is very surprising that we've continued to move down. Even if we moved up, we would have moved down again. So it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's just how far we're going to come. The more we move down and not go back upwards, the worse it's going to be for us in the future. So this is not good. If you're someone who wants Bitcoin to go to 200k tomorrow, this is not really good for you. But if you're someone who's just not really, or tries to not be, pointing to this guy right here, tries to not be biased, but is biased anyway on Bitcoin. I think that's why I do the SERP chart so well, because I'm not biased. Even though obviously we do them on the channel, I don't really care about SERP. And that's not a thing to say I don't care about SERP and I don't like them. But in my off time, I don't really look at SERP as a token as a whole. Bitcoin on the other hand, and potentially SERP, potentially Solana, or potentially Ethereum. Solana, obviously, I am actually. I was buying it to and from school at $8, I think it was. So that was my claim to glory. So yeah, you can obviously, I did Crown. I haven't got one yet, but yes, I was buying Solana at about $8 when I was to and from school, which was very nice. But anyway, I'm more involved in Bitcoin than anything else. as looking at it off the stream. So I try to not be biased, but I am. There's always these conflicting thoughts from a bit of a bias. But the syrup, apart from the streams, I don't really pay too much attention. I think that's why I've been doing so well on the syrup T8. We've been doing it really nicely. And this will be a claim to what I've just said. I don't even know what syrup's done because I haven't looked at the chart since last stream. And okay, and this is okay. This is I'll tell you this. I have not looked at anything other than Bitcoin. I'm not saying I looked at Bitcoin every day, but the only coin I've actually looked at off stream in detail to pay attention to what I would be talking about next stream is Bitcoin. So that's where we are. That's where we are with the situation. But anyway, 4,012. Why did I say that? 4,122 on Ethereum, 5.9% down 24 hour, 8.6. Again, I haven't looked at Ethereum. I don't know what we talked about last. I can't remember. I am the most I'm the oldest 20-year-old in the world. I must be, because I just don't remember things. Like I don't remember what we talked about last stream. I think I get what we talked about maybe, but I don't remember the specifics. I mean, it's all blur. As soon as 9 o'clock hits, it's like, it's like the full moon, just all comes out in an hour, or tries to be an hour. It's normally in about an hour and 10 minutes. And then it goes to 10 past 10, and all of a sudden, I'm not werewolf anymore. So, anyway, Solana, 176. That is a bit of a fall. Again, no, 176 is good. That was the price I was talking about for Solana. I was saying 176 is a really good low for Solana. Again, I don't know if we're going to continue to do that. Again, I do need to look at the chart. I haven't looked yet. But I remember talking about specifically 176. Specifically, 176 was the price. So that is pretty good, I suppose. Ethereum, I don't know if I said 4,100, 4,200. I must have said something like that. I'm sure of it. Kishan is here. Thank you for being here. Hidden Agendas is also here. Don't worry for being late. Again, you can be here for 5 minutes or 50. I appreciate you all equally. Obviously, I would show appreciation to people who've been here for the whole stream and say thank you for sticking by all my words. But, I will not be angry if I've only joined for 5 minutes, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, I don't know why I always do this, but I always do. Okay, this is obviously a bad day. We have stable coins in the top 10 winners of the last day. So this is obviously not a very good day for the charts. I mean, again, I think you could kind of infer that by how red everything was. Pump.fun. Don't care. I don't care. I do this every time. I don't care. What I do get angry about is pi, but I am yet to have an understanding of pi. I don't know. And again, I'm very uneducated. I don't really care. I really don't care. But I don't understand. It just seemed like this absolute complete scam. You might as well go and get a World of Warcraft subscription, gold farm, and sell the gold, than keep your phone on at night, making it boil. Making the metal of the phone boil to get maybe like 50 cents of pi. You know what I mean? And you might have sold it for $50 for 5 minutes when it was at its all-time high. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the point? Anyway, let's go to the chart. So, I was kind of just like, pondering. I'm kind of like Socrates. I'm just like, I'm just like the thinker, getting paid to think. Although I'm not really getting paid a lot, but whatever. I'm just here, just pondering the charts. I don't analyze. I ponder. It's not so much of a, here's a calculation. Let me figure out the density of orders in certain prices, and let me figure out what this means to the price. I'm just like, I just sit here with my hand on my chin, like that, just about the chart, and I was pondering about where we could see another low. So I think the way I want to go about this is figuring out what situation we're in, why are we here, where are we, where have we come from, what it looks like we're going to be doing next, and why would we be doing that is kind of what I want to be answering in my questions. Because I don't do the charts. I have questions about the charts, and then I answer them. That's how you analyze. That's how I analyze it. I don't just look at it and just like monkey brain do everything. I look at the chart and go, why? I have some questions. This, and this, and then I answer them. Anyway, I'm absolutely yapping today. Unfortunately, it seems that Sol and ETH will go down more. Well, maybe I'll need to get to the charts again. Like I said, I haven't looked at them since last stream, and last stream was Saturday, which was quite a few days ago. So I don't know what we've done. All I know for Bitcoin, as I see right now, is we've gone down, which is what the general gist of what we were talking about was. I will talk about now. This I'm scared to do this because it's gonna hurt my eyes, and it's gonna hurt all your guys' eyes. So I would prepare yourselves for what I'm about to unveil. God, it's just horrible. And this is what I was talking about. I just need to clean the chart a bit. But I'm not going to talk about it just yet. I'm going to talk about... I did this maybe 5 minutes before the stream, so I was like, you know what I should do? I should be a good person and not just, willy-nilly on the chart. I should maybe spend 5 minutes before the stream starts, just kind of getting a general idea of what I could be talking about. So I have this drawn. I was kind of just looking at, okay, well, we've gone, wicked, pretty much wicked, actually. I don't even think we printed, and we kind of printed, doesn't really matter. We've whipped past this high, pretty much. We kind of came up towards it. If you talked about candle bodies, which, again, isn't really the full basis of what you should be looking at, if you're printing above highs or lows, we didn't actually really print. I mean, we might have, actually. We kind of printed. I need to sneeze. This is really not good. It's going to distract me for, like, 15 seconds now. I'm going to drink some water. Okay, it's gone. I don't need to sneeze. So, okay, we took the high. We talked about this last stream. Nothing new there. And then basically we were talking in this phase. Nothing's really changed again. We're just continuing to go down. Fine. I do have some drawings about this candle here. Again, we will unhide it in a second because it's really ugly. But I kind of just want to look at, okay, from what it looks like we're doing, we could be continuing towards, lows. Now, I think for me, there's two things here. I would have wanted us to stop a bit sooner if we were to do another higher low and then a higher high in terms of continuing a trend upwards. I would want us to do that. And I would have also liked if this move was not like this in the slightest. Because there's, you might be able to tell the difference between, I don't know, the moves we've had when they've been successful expansion retracements versus this move. Now, I will use this one as an example. And this is a very premium example. This is very good. This is like A+, where we kind of just go up in a straight line and we don't have retracements. Fine. And obviously there are other periods where we have had the but I think you notice every time where we've had a significant move upwards, which hasn't resulted in us, having a iffy kind of, oh, are we going to go past this? Are we going to hold this as support? But every time we've had these massive moves, you can see it's just this massive kind of group of 1, 2, or 3 candles, whatever, on the daily. And we haven't come back to them. These are just going to be massive support areas. And then the moments where we have these kind of reversals, especially in this uptrend, you can see like, we have these massive areas. And then when we get towards here, it's like, okay, well, we have some candles upwards, and then we have a massive candle downwards, then we have a massive candle back upwards, and then some candles upwards again, and then massive candles downwards, and then we go up, and then we go down, and we go up again, but then we go down again. And it's just this, like, awful price action. So it's again, speed, distance, time. This, we're just not doing anything, basically. If you kind of, like, averaged it out across all the factors, how fast are we going up, how far we're going up, all these sorts of things. We're not doing anything in these movements. And these are prone periods of price action, where it allows us to have actual reversals. And the worse we do in new highs, the more chance we get past the lows. And the more chance we get past the lows, the more chance we continue to do a downtrend, and so on and so forth. And obviously this phase is, kind of similar. We've had this move upwards, and then it's like, we're showing signs of printing past some of these areas, and then we kind of start and move upwards again. Even though we've kind of come past this low, we haven't printed past the low, and then we pump up again, and then we work past here, and then it starts this move downwards. But this isn't even that bad as what we have right now. Like, what we have right now is even worse than what I'm kind of looking at here. And this is just random. I just kind of just scroll past to try and find something like this. It's just a random area. I just saw something in the chat then. And then we only really start coming downwards. And you can kind of notice with this, like, we start to have these periods where it's not like we have equal moves up and downwards, or 1 or 2 candles upwards and then a massive move back downwards. We have these phases where we have, especially when we actually start the down move. Obviously, in this case, we have these uptrend, and then we print past, and then we have a retracement back up to, do this like lower high. And this only really starts here, past here, when we actually start this move downwards. And you can see from these moves, we actually really have these significant move downwards, and then this like slight move back upwards. Even this one obviously was a big move downwards and then move back upwards with this wick. On the daily, in terms of the candle bodies, it is really this, okay, we have this move down, then we have a slight move retracement, and then we have this move down, and we have this slight retracement. And then we did slow down here, because obviously we had all these wicks. So, again, I'm not saying obviously, but again, I'm only on the daily here, so it's not really the greatest example. But then as we continue this move, because again, we haven't printed past any highs or anything, we have these massive expansion, and yes, we did have this massive pump, but this expansion is this whole area, so not worried. And then expansion, and then retracement, and then expansion, retracement, expansion again. But then what happens is, okay, well, we've got past these low areas, but then the whole time we're doing this, we always want to be paying attention to price action we've previously done. And what we can see is not only, what would we look for? We'd look for, obviously, some massive kind of gap area, but also, retracements into areas of, where you want to buy at. And then we kind of look at this and go, okay, right, that's why we've stopped. Because if you just looked at this, you're like, okay, why have we stopped at 74,659. You know what I mean? It's like you do have to look back at the price and see price action you've already done, which could constitute some sort of support area. And also, again, in my theory, obviously not financial advice, look for an area below some sort of equilibrium to look for an actual buy area. And you can see here, okay, well, we continue these lows, and we have a period where we haven't come past this low in a while. So this is a significant low. And we continuously have this gap, which, we've continuously filled. And it's just kind of in this whole, especially in this phase when we've kind of come up and come back down from equilibrium, especially in this phase, in this kind of basically the rest of March towards April, is really just looking for that moment where you either come past, and again, in this case, we're still in a downtrend, so you're still watching for this low. And then once you come past that low, and this is something I want to pay attention to going forward, is once you get past that low, is this a continuation low? Is this us continuing, in our phase downwards? Is this just another low in this downtrend? Or could this be, grounds for a reversal? This is our last low or last high before we start to break up or downwards and continue in the opposite trend. So now let's kind of maybe bring this, all this yap towards where we are now. I really just looked at the chat and there's some people talking. I will look at Square in a second. I'm just going to talk about this and then move on to it. So then we kind of look at this. It's the same thing. It's kind of, we've had this uptrend, and you can notice the difference between the expansions versus these moments where we're not really moving in an appropriate manner. Especially this is awful movement. Like this is like the amount of lows upwards again, and we failed to get past above here. And it's kind of in this whole phase just waiting to see, all right, well, we have, number one, we have this massive gap, which is going to be very, good to come to. And we've had this last high and we haven't been able to get above. And if you go to the 4 hour and all these sorts of time frames, we will see different reasons why we haven't gone up. And then it's just us waiting to come back down into this area. And just basically on the high time frame, if you just like obfuscate it out, just continue to do this phase of up and down moves. And then you get to here. And, again, it technically was a print above this high at 123, 290, whatever. And then you look here, and yes, we did technically print, but then we look at this move. And number one, we haven't really expanded in a manner like we have previously in other phases where we've had these significant moves upwards and downwards and all this sort of stuff. We've had these nice candles, which have had these massive moves, which has given us something to hold on to if we were to come back upwards and or come back downwards and hold support. And we didn't really do that. Again, you can see we have this move upwards, wick down, move upwards, and then we kind of wick back into this area. So technically, the only area I would focus on, this could be a gap at 115. Cool. Yes. But other than that, we don't have anything. Again, we kind of wick down into this area. We've really wicked it down into this area. But technically, these are potential gap areas. But versus this, to be fair, like is more of a area to focus on. But we haven't really left ourselves with anything to hold support at or do anything at with Bitcoin. And then obviously we get up to this high, and then when we actually sink back downwards, we can see same thing here. It's like again, we have expansionary movement, and then we start to, and then we've hit us coming past all these highs, and we just about get past this last high, and we print above it, and then we expand downwards. Okay, but again, we still have gap areas, this area, some of these areas, some lows here, and all sorts of stuff. Again, we can go to the 1 hour and whatnot. And if we look, we are past equilibrium. We've come to this area. We have reason, and then we kind of come upwards. We don't really expand, retrace, and then we expand up one last time. But even if we've expanded one last time, we've come to the last high, and we've ripped past it, and then we've absolutely expanded downwards. So this is definitely a more of a concerning price action. And especially if you consider the fact that we have this kind of move and really paying attention to this last low before this move upwards, which we then use as a resistance area. In this case, if you look at this low, which actually uses this whole area, we kind of just about come back up into it and then continue downwards. So it's clearly, this is a reversal. And again, if people look at Head and Shoulders, it's kind of the same, similar manner where obviously you're coming upwards. It's like, what stops you? You know what I mean? It's like, what stops you from doing this? Well, it's this move. Why would you do a right shoulder versus doing another move upwards? You know what I mean? Why have we stopped here? And again, if you look at Head and Shoulders, it's like, I don't really think, yes, you can draw it on this and look at it and go, oh, well, oh, screw all your TA sucks. Like, what's the point of looking at all this crap when you can just look at Head and Shoulders and just like look at all this sort of stuff? It's like, oh, well, it doesn't matter where the right shoulder goes because we can just come past 117 and come back up into it and then come down. Oh, the Head and Shoulders is so easy. It's like, okay, why have we done this though? Do you know what I mean? It's like, and if we then look at price action, it's like, okay, well, we've come past this high. this is going to be a very high interest area if you want to coin it like that. Very high interest area. And it's like, okay, well, this, if we had any grounds to reverse at a high point, it would be wicking past here and doing this high at 124. And then obviously so on and so forth, we've done that. And the reason, in my opinion anyway, we don't just randomly stop. You know, like, why have we stopped? You know, okay, well, why didn't we stop in this area? You know what I mean? Why didn't we stop in this move and we do a lower high here? And you know, if we look back, you know, somewhere back here is the left shoulder, you know, kind of come to here, and we, you know, come back and do all this sort of stuff. And, you know, why didn't we, it's just a pretty bad example, to be fair, because actually, no, I need to draw it properly. It's actually probably a really awful example because it actually doesn't really look very good, you know what I mean? But the kind of, it's the kind of thing where it's like, why have we stopped? Why didn't we do a lower high here? Or why didn't this high, which took out, oh, well, look at this high though, well, look at all these highs we took, and then we came down and we expanded downwards. You know, why didn't we just stop here and then continue downwards from 120? Like, why don't we do that? Well, this is what I'm talking about. And the whole point of what I'm talking about are these gaps. These gaps, and obviously, again, I think the greatest manner here is what helps with coming past this high, this kind of all-time high, kind of just about coming past it and then coming downwards. Like, clearly, in any world, no matter what TA you look at, I mean, again, unless you're looking at some sort of like, you know, magical squiggly line, which is like 5 days out, then yeah, all right, you'll eventually, you know, it might eventually tell you you're going down, but you know, it might tell you down here 116, and then you're like, oh, we're going down now. That's thought, and then guess what? It comes back to 118, and oh, well, it's been stopped out, and then you get, you know, it continues downwards, and you just feel like the market's against you because, you know, you're choosing one line, one random squiggly line. But anyway, I'm going back to this, and this one is a lower time frame, which we'll get to, but it's the same thing. And then from here, which is why I have this mess, and now I can start talking about the mess. And again, we did talk about this, and what I will say about this is, this is, you know, we did talk about this, but I don't like it because, again, I had two things. And if you remember, if you were here last stream, obviously I did talk about them. We had two things. It was, my feelings tell me we go to 122. Wrong thing to do. Feelings, no, don't do that. And then, as I was saying, was, well, on the 1 hour, what I think is going to happen is that based on this move downwards, we would come to, yeah, basically 118.5, and then we come downwards. So we left the stream. Okay, I know I've just talked for so long. I do apologize, but I feel like that was, you know, a decent talk about, you know, the charts, you know, the way a market moves, I suppose. But now we're actually on to current TA. We can look forward now, or slightly look forward. You know, we'll quickly go over what we've just done, you know, from last stream, and then we can look at where we're going to go to. So last stream was here. That was last stream. That candle. There we go. So what we were talking about was basically, well, we kind of came down. We had all this wick area, and then we had this candle which moved back upwards, and then we had the support here. And what I was saying was, in terms of just on the 1 hour, and I was actually just looking at the chart, I'm not giving my feelings, because no one wants the feelings, they want the charts, if we are continuing down in this movement, I reckon we can come back towards this support area, which we formed, and then eventually get up towards this gap, which we have formed here. And obviously the optimum area is going to be sitting at around 118.5, but somewhere in that area would be a good area to get onto. But again, you'd have to watch it and whatnot. But the optimum area would be somewhere 118.250 is where you want to maybe focus on. Additionally, if you look at the individual gap, it actually is within this area, which actually come to right nicely. So it depends on what you want to look at. But the general area I left off with, just looking at the chart on the 1 hour, before I started giving my feelings, was 118, about 450, 118,500. And we did that quite nicely. You know, after the stream, obviously in the preceding hours and whatnot, we did continue downwards and come to support. And then we did continue back upwards and then find resistance here on this whole phase, and then come back upwards. And obviously, if you look at it on this phase, you know, you can see it a bit better, obviously midpoint and whatnot. If you just look at the gap, you can see it fills it again quite nicely. So it depends on where you're looking at, what you want to look at. But if you look at it on just the 1 hour with what I looked at last stream, it was that price. And we continue downwards. And I'm going to delete this now, even though I did talk about it, because I don't want to have all this crap on my screen. Let me delete this one. What am I deleting? Let me think. We had daily resistance, which we came to, which I drew. I'm going to delete that because it's in the way. I had this, obviously, the breaker we were talking about with the last low before the move, which fails. is the area you come back to in terms of basically this candle anyway. And then we came to there, and then continue. I'm going to delete this as well. I don't want this. I'll keep this. I will keep this. Will I keep this? Actually, do I want to keep this? Let me think. What is this? Where is this? What is this? Oh, this is like the old resistance. I mean, yeah, you could argue that was also in the other area. Apart from the gap, we also had this old low, which came into this area, and then went back upwards with this candle coming above this area, and then we failed it, and then we used it as resistance. Also, just filling the gap. I'm gonna delete this as well, so we can clean it up a bit, and then we can look forward. Let me unlock this and draw it ahead a bit. Actually, got the 1 hour. There we go. Okay, cool. So now we can look ahead. Continues to wait. And again, this is just downtrend. This is just downtrend. I know I'm going to get onto a new TA in a second. I know I talk for an absolute age. But another swing lower, coming past the low, brilliant. Come past the low, printing past it, brilliant. Same thing here though. And this is new TA now from continuing from last stream. Obviously we had the support which we did use, and then again we're in a downtrend. It's like, okay, yeah, oh yeah, well you can form support or resistance or whatever on the 1 hour, the 30 minute, 15, 4 hour. But if you're on like the daily or you're on the higher time frame, depending on what time frame you found the support on in this case, it's like, okay, brilliant. In this period of the 1 hour, when you're looking at on the 1 hour in 1 hour scope, yes, we can use the support. But the thing really is, it's like I would never want to consciously use this as like, oh well, we formed support on the 1 hour at this area, we're definitely not going to come down any lower than 116.8, and we're going to come upwards. This is stupid. So we can use these support areas and then be aware that we're going to come past them eventually, and we can also use them resistance in this case, because again, a failed order block will still be resistance as well, which if we zoom in, we can see again another gap area we want to retrace up into. Midpoint sitting also around 116,600. Again, optimum area is around about 117, 116.8. We wake up into that area. Perfect. Again, once you get back into these areas and you watch it, and again in this case you want to watch on the 15 minute for like reversal, and in this case we do see that. Again, this is very similar. It's all similar. All price action on daily to the 50 minute, it flows similar. Again, we have normal uptrend, come up into optimum area, and again this case we have this gap sitting about here. We just about come up into it. About here, it's very rough drawing, just about come up into it, optimum area and hard time for resistance. We're just in this massive resistance area, and then what do? We actually kind of pump downwards or whatever you want to say. We expand downwards, and then from there it's really just using this as a general area to look for. Okay, you're above equilibrium, this is our gap, and then we just kind of come back up into it, and it's the same thing on the 15 minute. But again, once you cascade downwards from the 1 hour to 15 to the 5, it just gets too messy. But it's the same concept. You can do it on the 15 minute, 1 hour, daily, whatever. But on the 15 minute, we had that reversal. Cool. Once we've printed past that low, which is that 116.3, that's when you know, okay, cool. We had that retracement back up into the gap. We know we should be reversing on the hard time frame because we've come up into optimum area on the gap, and then we should be aiming for the low. So if you were to short on the 15 minute, you'd have obviously stop maybe at the high and then take profit at the next low, which we continue towards as well. Same thing here, gap. Gap, we have that gap there. This is the range above equilibrium. We come up into the gap, optimum area at around this area, 115.8 to 116. Come into that area, and then we expand again. This is really good to it. This is really good price action. I know this sounds repetitive. I'm just saying that simply over and over again, but it's a good thing I'm saying the same thing over and over again, because this is good TA. We take the lows pretty quickly. We come up to do a lower high. We find where the lower high is in a gap or in a old order block, aka a breaker block, or whatever it's going to be, whatever you want to look at for resistance, or whatever I want in my case for resistance. And we've done it. We do it every time in this phase. So I think the easiest time to look. I mean, again, this is like, this isn't crazy to say, but I think the easiest time to look at a chart at any point is when you're trending, either an uptrend or a downtrend. Consolidation, it's okay, and I think as long as I said this before actually in other streams, if you've got a method to look at trends and look at where's my mind? Where's the word gone? Let me find it. Consolidation. If you've got a way to look at both of those market conditions and successfully find a way of trading it or doing whatever, or doing something in that phase. And again, you don't have to do, you can trade an optimum. You don't have to always trade. You know what I mean? Like you can have phases where it's like, okay, I don't like trading these phases, or I don't like trading consolidations. I'd rather wait for it to manipulate and then start distributing and then starting into a downtrend. But I think if you look at consolidations as a accumulation, and then watching for a manipulation. If you start to pump upwards and think, oh, everyone's going to start longing, and then absolutely getting dumped from the distribution, it's, you know, it's similar to here. Let's say, for example, we form this range, we sit in it, and this is a horrible example, but as an example, it's like, okay, we sit in this range, we're sitting in this range in particular. In this range, we sit in this range, boom, we've come upwards. Okay, gap number one, obviously, we know we're in a downtrend, we want to go down, but on the lower time frames, you're looking at this, oh, boom, 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 here we go, oh, here we go, oh no, and then we distribute. So you could look at it that way, to be fair. So in this case, on the 1 hour, this isn't very good to look at. You can go to the lower time frames and like scalp it, but I couldn't be asked to do that. Or you go, okay, cool, well, we know this is just like trending in a consolidation, let's wait to see what we do. And yes, we are at support. But you know, regardless, we already know we want to watch for it to come above an equilibrium area into a gap and come down. So we know once we've come up out of this phase and we start to come upwards, we know we're in a gap, we know we're in a downtrend, and we know we've manipulated above this accumulation. So in theory, on a accumulation manipulation distribution, we should then come down, and we do that anyway. So you know, you can look at the market in different ways. It depends on how you want to look at it. You know, how best you look at it. So you know what I mean. It's all interpretation. And again, we continue to do this. I think I mention this one, I don't know. I'm gonna delete these because again, they're not very hard to draw. I can just draw them again if I need them. I have this low drawn out. This must have been the 15 minute I was looking at. Yeah, I was just kind of looking into where we could find the next low point in this trend. I'm gonna delete this low because I don't really care about the low. I don't want to do 50. Okay, how bad is it on the 1 hour? It's not bad. Okay, we can look at it on the 1 hour as well. 1 hour's not bad. 1 hour's pretty good. We can see, okay, we formed a gap actually as well, which is nice in this area here. We have, we're just continuing downwards. I mean, again, I think this thing is like, okay, and this is the interesting point I want to talk about as well on this Bitcoin part. It's going to the high time frame. There we go. So we've had our talk, we've had our old TA, we've had everything. Okay, we've talked. I know I've spent like 30 minutes on Bitcoin. We've had it all. And I will now. I'm starting to look at new TA now. Okay, actually, let me look at the chat first. Let me look at the chat. I know I'm putting it off. I'll look at the chat now. 110 is a key level to hold. Lower, we need 108k, then bull market support band. If we are going to wet the bed, do it properly. I want it lower too, but we should see some reaction at that level. 110. Yeah. I mean, this is why I drawn out here already. I had this drawn before the stream. Yeah, 110. I'll just about get to this, so I will talk about what you guys are mentioning, Mike and KB, in a second, in terms of this old area. Anyway, I just want the low in. KB's right. I also think we're going to get a humding of a short squeeze. Yeah, I think, and this thing is like, this phase we've had is very similar to this phase we had, where, and again, this has been a lot faster, and I think this could, I don't think we're going to do this, and because look, okay, how similar is this move? I think I might have talked about this last stream. How similar is this move to this move? I would argue very similar, you know, quite similar. Not obviously not 1-to-1 or anything like that, but if you go to the 4 hour especially, like, these are very similar looking phases. If you go to the 4 hour, like, you have these massive candles. This was probably more ridiculous though, to be fair. But you can see, I think the main thing to focus on with these areas are the areas where we form these gaps, but don't even come back to them. And that's the main one for me. And these areas, yes, okay. You know, we don't have a gap here. You know, we came back to it. So we didn't just expand away from, we didn't form this gap and continue to expand. We came back up into it to find the resistance and continue downwards. Same area here, we formed this gap, we've used it, and then we've come down again. So the only area of resistance major, apart from taking out highs and order blocks or whatever, just looking at gaps and just look, I think this is obviously there's more nuance, but just looking at gaps and looking at where there could be resistance is this main area where 120k, 122, the main area. I was like, guys, 118.5 is where the chart says the high is going to be, but my feelings say 120. Obviously the feelings are wrong. Yeah, Kel surprise. My feelings are wrong, but that still stands though. This area is still in effect, especially this is the first expansion from taking out the high and coming past all this malarkey. Bang, down we come, and we haven't come back to it. So that is definitely going to be huge resistance. Do you know what I mean? Huge resistance there, 100%. We also have formed order block here on the higher time frame, wicking past this engulf. This is going to be resistance as well, which we can draw for. You know what? We can actually hide this. You know what? Matter of fact, I'm going to delete it. Get out of the way. You know, I just need to learn to let go sometimes. Sometimes things just aren't right. You just need to let them go. This is going to be resistance. You know, move up, wick past here, massive. This is like Beautiful textbook. And this is major resistance. Again, where is it? 121, 12, 121, 120. This area is going to be resistance. And I'll be very, very surprised if we go right past this. I'll never stream ever again. Do you know what I mean? I do want to stream. I won't say that. But you know what I mean? It's like, we have massive area, massive gap on our time frames, massive thing, haven't come back. This is going to be resistance. And I think, you know, in this whole phase downwards, we didn't really have this. None of these areas are really major support or major gaps. Apart from this area, yes. These areas, no, not really. You know what I mean? And especially as we've come from this major high, and you know we haven't printed past it and had an actual uptrend like we had here. We just we went past it. We went past it. No, but, awful. We didn't do anything. We went past it and then dumped. This isn't like, oh, well, we're just coming down and doing a new low. This is like, okay, this is probably going to be reversal. But we potentially have a support area here. Now, I don't think this is going to be majorly strong. I think the two areas I want to focus on is this area I had drawn yesterday, or not yesterday, last stream before, whenever it was. I drew this. I think it must have been stream before. And it was here. 113-ish, this whole area. Now, I don't necessarily think this is going to be the super support of death, and we're never going to get lower than it, because we're continuing downwards. And from what it looks like, we're probably going to do is, I don't think this is, we probably will come past this. I think we're going to, again, this is feelings. But as we're continuing on the 4 hour, as we continue to have these massive gaps and come back and continuously do lows, until we print a pass probably around 117k on the 4 hour, this relative time frame, unless we print past 117k, we're in this massive downtrend, and we haven't slowed down. It's not like we're slowing down. We have this, we're coming upwards quite high, coming downwards quite high. We're kind of equal and kind of, chopping a bit. We're absolutely coming. We're expanding downwards. We're coming down. Boom, boom, boom. We're properly coming down, and we've just went past this low. We've kind of had a bit of a move upwards, and then we have this last low. And we've printing past all these lows the entire time, and we're in this downtrend. So, what we look for now, okay, what we're doing, why we're doing it, and where could we stop at? So, okay, the question is, we know we're in a downtrend, so we know we're taking lows and finding lower highs and resistance within this last move. Cool. So we've talked about the expansions and coming past the lows and retracing back up into expansions and aiming for the lows again and expansions and lows and all this sort of stuff. So we've got that question. It only took me 35 minutes to answer that question. But now we can move on to, so we know what we're doing, where could we stop at, and why would we stop there, is the only thing. Because again, we can't go down forever, we can't go up forever. We've had a very nice downtrend from 124. We've come down very far in this down move. It's been very nice, very, very good move downwards. And then it's like, okay, on the wider time frame is what is, I think, a good area to focus on, for a considerable thing, is if we were to print past 112, this is not good for the price. This isn't great. And I think from what we've done, and comparatively anyway, is, okay, I think the difference between this move where we had this move and then we dumped versus this move where we had this move upwards and then dumped is this. This is the only deciding factor I think we had in between these two moves where we've had these expansion downwards. And the reason why we stopped here versus where we could maybe not stop at in terms of this move is because we had this massive area, just this massive optimum area to find support at and continue upwards. And I think this 112 is going to be a good area to focus to get past. And I think we will probably have a response from this area and probably come a bit deeper towards this 110k area. And the reason I have this, obviously, again, expansion. And then the same thing here, we had the initial expansion, which started this whole thing. And we did kind of sit at this area, but, we kind of did wick down. But the main area is still sitting in between this whole area, about 110, 65, whatever it's going to be exactly. So we do have that main area to consider. But I think the differences for me is, okay, we had this phase. We had this uptrend. And on the major highs and major lows, if we got past 105k, that would be us officially printing past lows and starting a downtrend in this move. And this is one of the things I was saying back here as well, is the worst highs you do in an uptrend, the more chance you have of reversing. In theory. Where if you compare this high versus this barely high, I think it speaks volumes on what the price is doing. where you can see the last major low is probably around 105. And the idea that if you print past those or print past highs, you're changing direction, changing trend on a very high scale. And I think from there, okay, we have this move up, we have this move down. This is now the new major low. And now we've come up and we've barely done a new high. It's technically done a new high. And then we've dumped from just about wicking past the all-time high. So now we're not focusing on 105 being on low. We're now focusing on 112 being on low. And we've already come to there in no matter of time. And the support, it's not a gap. It's not expansion. It's like an order block. Who cares? You know, it's like, okay, there'll probably be a bit of support here, but these aren't set in stone. Like, I think the strongest thing I would probably be looking for in price action are these kind of expansionary candles and retracements is what I've mainly been using so far in terms of most of my TA, which has been doing pretty well across the board. You know, it's mainly looking at retracements. Because most of the charts we look at are majority either an uptrend or a downtrend. And I know, you know, if we are in a consolidation, and we can easily see we're in a consolidation, that's when we want to look for, okay, cool. Then we can draw what could be the accumulation phase and looking for manipulation and then, you know, dumping and all sorts of stuff. But majoritively, you're in an uptrend or a downtrend. So looking for these retracements, looking for these targets, and paying attention to highs and lows. And in this case, we can see, okay, well, if we look from the low to the high, you know, the optimum area to buy would have been in this gap 117. We come right past that. And I'm not saying there is chance where we could wick past 112 and then pump again, but that's not really normally what happens in an uptrend. It's not really the main thing which happens. It's we've missed our chance to have that pump and continue back up to do a new high. I think we've missed our chance. So I think the next thing there is we've had this reversal, and on the lower time frames, we are coming down in the most beautiful downtrend possible. And I think to translate that to the daily, it would be us printing past 112. But if you look at some intermediary lows in this kind of general trend, again, it's about 116.3 at this low, and we've printed right past that. So I think, regardless of if the daily hasn't quite printed past 112 yet, I think we're going right past this gap. I think we'll come towards this major gap of 110, 109, 110k, whatever it is exactly here. So, and also consider this on the daily. To be fair, we did actually kind of print a green candle there, but we have basically this whole area. Until we print the next green candle, this whole area is going to be this major void area where there's going to be resistance. So it's not like we've had a beautiful, you know, la-di-da downtrend on the daily anyway. This is like this in terms of the actual kind of magnitude of a move versus, you know, having this massive expansion versus a normal uptrend. We had this massive expansion upwards and we had this one downwards. So, and how did we use this one? Well, okay, yes, we did come up and we did have a little phase and we found some sort of support or whatever it was going to. Obviously, we looked at standard deviations. We found our point to stop at. And then we had a bit of an awful TA, whatever. And then obviously we reversed and then came into this gap area and then did a new high. So if we now compare that price action versus what we're doing now, we've had this expansion downwards. We are gonna, if we now kind of translate this forward, we'll eventually hit our period like this. Maybe not exactly like this, but we'll find some period where we see a low. And then we'll retrace into this retracement. And then we'll pump. In this case, obviously, dump. In theory, if we come past this. And if we come past this and start printing, do you know what I mean? Like, this is... like, you know, this is us printing past this. And this, oh, they've spotted it. The Head and Shoulders people have come out the woodworks and they've spotted it. Do you know what I mean? So, in theory, anyway. And again, I've said this so many times about Head and Shoulders. And the reason why it's a good obfuscation of a market movement, but I don't think it can be applied to every market movement. I think there has to be nuance. And the nuance for this is coming past the all-time high. And wicking past it and then expanding. So it's not like we printed past it quite voluminously and then had a slow move back downwards for a retracement and then expanded again. We wicked past it, we hardly printed, and we expanded downwards. So clearly, this isn't really a la-di-da movement. This is not good, you know? So in that phase where we've had this move, you know, uptrend, and the only part you really want to focus on here is that phase where you've printed past all this, you've expanded downwards, and then that right shoulder, in theory, is that period where you retrace. You know, we're now in a downtrend. You have this period from the high to the low. Let's say it's around 110. Let's just say it's here as an arbitrary value. We do this area. We coming again. Magic. It's 120 like we talked about. Around this area, we have a deeper retracement. It might not be there. It might just be about equilibrium 118. Again, we'll talk about it. We'll go to the lower time frames as it happens. So we start to come downwards. We do that move. And then we have that lower high. And then that's it. That's it. You know what I mean? Like that. I'm not saying that's it for Bitcoin. It's over. You know, we're coming down 100, 40k. Here we come. But I'm talking about that's it for this move. Like, yes, we did have phases where we had this downtrend, but we had these massive gaps. So notice why we stopped this downtrend. We found an area of buy and then pumped again. Same thing here. We come to this area. Okay, oh, we've stopped going down. Okay, cool. But now we have this area which stops us from going upwards. So then the next phase is finding what stops us from going down again. We have a low at 98 to wick past, and then we have 90k. The area we've been talking about for a long time now. You know, quite a while. So I think that is the phase we're probably going to be taking for Bitcoin. And if you look at it on the macro, well, not macro, but on a high time frame, this is obviously weekly. But, you know, there's not that many candles in this phase. You know what I mean? There's not that many candles. So to come down and come upwards again, it won't take that long. But again, it's going to be coming towards this phase, you know, October, November. And again, what's Mike been saying the whole time, we're going to be seeing our high in October. So if we have this last, you know, move down, which finds support and comes upwards. But to be fair, you know, if we actually look at this and we've done this uptrend and we've you know, done this uptrend. Actually, to be fair, I mean, okay, I'm looking at it with this phase. We've done this uptrend. If we expand downwards, comes to this area, and no, I don't think that. No, I'm not saying it comes to 60k. I'm not saying that. But you know what I mean? It's like, okay, this is the phase, and this is probably the most logical thing I could think about, or the most logical thing I could talk about, which could bring us to 90k if that is still in the playbooks. Not financial advice. I have 17 minutes left. I just realized. I will stop talking in a minute. So that's what I think from Bitcoin, and that isn't just oh, here's the 1 hour of the Bitcoin. I think I'm going to go down $100,000. That is the long term. This is what I think the long term play for Bitcoin is. That is mapping out Bitcoin for the next, like, however many months it is. That's like what, like 3 months ish. So that's my map out for Bitcoin, in my opinion. Not financial advice, but that's what I think Bitcoin could probably do. You can disagree with me, you can hate me, whatever. But yeah, going back to actual TA, going back to what we're doing now. Yeah, we're just continuing this. We're coming to this support area. I reckon we'll find some sort of support in this downtrend, but we have the most beautiful downtrend, and we have this massive resistance area, and we're continuing downwards, and we haven't found, we're not in this phase where we've, you know, had an awful move down and we're now going to pump upwards and reverse. We've had a massive expansion. I think we're continuing this move downwards. I think we're going to get past this downtrend, or this support point. We've already used it before. We're starting to try and wick past this area. We've already used this resistance as support even. And it's not like order blocks can't be used again as support, but they're not like on the degrees of importance, they're not that high. You know, they're like, it's like, I don't know. Actually, I don't really know what the analogy to give, but it's not that great, you know. So, and we've already come to it. So the likely chance we might find support 112, come up again. But it's like, okay, if we continue downwards and then continue upwards, we're not going to find any sort of luck getting above 115. We'll find some resistance at about 114 again, somewhere in this area. We could continue downwards. Again, I would like to see this on the 15-minute, but yeah, we're trying to get up a bit. And again, we've come to the midpoint of this area, which again is the optimum area, if you will. So, you know, we haven't really, I mean, actually, I don't know what's back here, to be fair. Not really anything, really. So we've come past these lows, kind of, but you know what I mean? It's like, let me come back, actually. We're trying. We've come to an area of interest to the midpoint, but we could maybe reverse now. The only question now for me would be, when are we going to reverse towards this area? But the general idea, I don't think we're going to stop here. I think we're going to continue upwards, continue downwards, and then continue towards 110.5, 100 and whatever it was I talked about back here. And again, I don't think this is going to stop us and be the area which brings us back up towards our all-time highs. But I think on the longer term, even on the daily, you can kind of see like this mini area, which sits also about 110, 109, 950. I think this will be our low. I think we print past this. Number one, we're printing past this low and coming past it. Okay, now that we've started this, it's like, okay, it's like stretching an elastic band. You know what I mean? It's like, even though we're not wicking past it and using it as a buy area and coming upwards, once we print past this, that is the next step in the phase of a downtrend, or starting a downtrend anyways. If you just start a downtrend, regardless of what phase you're on a downtrend, once you come past that low and you've printed past it, you're then looking to aim to go upwards. So as soon as we come past 112, which I think will happen, it's then where's the wick going to stop at, which doesn't really matter, and then how far we're going to go back upwards. So I think the wick, or the general area, will stop about 110.5 or 110, and then we'll come back upwards. You know, however deep this goes, as I drew 120 or 118, wherever that midpoint was. So somewhere there. And then we'll continue downwards again. So that's what I think for Bitcoin. That's my whole thing. All right, I've got 30 minutes. I'm gonna, you know how slow I can be if I want to, and you can know how fast I can be if I want to. Yeah, so I think I remember talking about this retracement. I remember talking about the idea that we've wicked past our second most high. And I remember talking about the idea that I think this isn't going to hold. And I think we'll continue downwards considering the higher time frame wick we had. I talked about last stream. And then for me, that was considering we had this massive move here. And we aren't really having the same move as Bitcoin. If you look at the Bitcoin daily movement and look at what we have on Ethereum, it's very vastly different, considering we have this area, we have maybe some areas down here, we have this area down here. This is the main area, to be fair. This is the main area, 2700. But I think we must have a weekly support here. I mean, kind of, yeah, we had a bit of a gap here. It's not really that much of a support point, but yeah, I remember talking about the idea that this isn't really going to hold as the main retracement. And I do think 3,700 could be the area. And what have we done since Saturday? We've continued downwards. So if you go to the 4 hour, Saturday at 10 was here. Well, what did we had? We had this gap. We came to midpoint. We had this major area. We came towards the optimum area, 4,557, and then can aim for the low. Same thing here. We've actually come deeper. We haven't even retraced back up into this area. So I do think it's going to be a deeper... Actually, well, technically it's, Actually, if we go to the 1 hour, we can probably see we kind of have this area, major low. That's how rapid Ethereum wanted to come down. We only really tickled the... If we look at this gap, we only really tickled this area. But to be fair with this, I do want to look at actually where the break of the low was on the 4 hour. It's not even here, I think. Yeah, this I think is going to be a longer move downwards, to be fair. I'm kind of just looking at this. So we had this move upwards, and then we have this area, and then we move upwards again, and then we break down. And the idea is... Obviously, we're in this downtrend. Oh, to be fair, though, you know what? Actually, what I will say is this was probably the gap, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, cool. So I was just looking for... Because one of the things you can look at is in an uptrend, and then you have that reversal, is the last low before that move upwards, which breaks everything. Could be the area you come to. It's not really... So I haven't really looked at it before. I was just kind of testing it in terms of, looking at this area, which actually we did pretty well. In terms of, we have this move upwards and then have this low, the last low before the actual officially printing past a new low, which actually starts the downtrend officially. And then we have this move. Anyway, okay, so we are coming downwards. We have these equilibriums being used pretty nicely. So we used it here, and then we kind of just continue here. Again, same situation. In this case, actually, we did have a gap, and yes, we did print the gap. We actually wicked a bit higher. I mean, this could be an arbitrary amount of things. This could be probably... well, this is a wick past this high, and then we kind of come down. But this isn't the green printing. I'm trying to see if there's probably like an order block. Actually, I'll go to 50 minutes, see what's going on here. We have a high. It's probably this candle, isn't it? Yeah, we can see we printed these wicks. Yeah, okay. So we do have a bit of resistance on the 15 minute there, but it doesn't really matter because we continue downwards, aim for the low, we've continued past it. So again, same thing I'll be talking about on Bitcoin with Ethereum. We'll find our low. And again, we still want to be paying attention to the fact that we want to be looking backwards. On the 1 hour, we can do that. Let's go to the 4 hour because it's a bit easier. Let's just draw some areas over here. So we have this midpoint. We are continuing back down into this area as well. We're kind of, coming towards these lows, and we've worked past these lows as well. But I think we've already used we've used this void area, but if you look at it on an individual candle basis, this is the area, and we haven't used it. So coming towards about 4,110. Now, this isn't going to be a low, but if we're trying to orchestrate, because again, we're not in price discovery, but in terms of this downtrend, this is the new low. So it's areas behind us which could be the general areas to find the resistance at. So you can see also on the 1 hour, we can see this kind of similar thing where we have the individual candle. So not just the whole void area with the individual candle, which is also about that 4,100, 4,110 area. So I think we could have a low relatively soon for Ethereum, potentially. But all that really matters, all that really has an effect on for Ethereum is how where the equilibrium is going to be and how deep it is. And the general area, no matter how low we really come, is going to be in this gap area, which sits here, this general gap area. And again, that low is going to be sitting at about 4,250. So again, just another retracement, but this doesn't matter. And if you look at it on an individual candle basis, it will always sit at about 4,250, like I just mentioned. So I think, there's not really, it's just us continuing a downtrend, you know what I mean? And this isn't a particularly, important reversal area. And we haven't quite got past, I'm not saying we can't go back upwards above an equilibrium, but on the general scale, especially if we look at it on this wider trend we have here, in terms of this massive daily uptrend to a daily downtrend, and again, on the daily, it's like if we look at it relative, we have printed, or potentially printing past these lows, especially this last low before the move upwards. We could be potentially printing past here, as I think we will. So we are definitely coming downwards on the 4 hour and anything behind us. Similar to how we are on Bitcoin, we haven't officially printed past that major low, and the major low here is 3,354. But on the 4 hour and anything below, we are in that downtrend. So it's just looking on the daily to see this retracement into this gap area. So again, you know, we are coming down. We haven't come past equilibrium or anything, so technically we don't. I wouldn't want to be looking for long at this considerate point right now, I think we do come deeper towards these, you know, 3,700, 3,000 sorts of areas. You know, also towards those 3,940, just kind of generally just coming down to this gap area, especially this 3,700, 800 area. So I think we continue down into these areas, and if we go to the 4 hour, it's like, yes, we do actually have this area, but we've already used it. I just already drew this, and from there, you know, we do have a bit of a gap here, to be fair, which could be one we aim for, which is 3,900. But the major gap on the lower time frames is this area down here at 3,800, 3,700, as we were talking about. So I do think we could come a bit deeper for Ethereum, and on the 4 hour anyway. Yes, we have had this downtrend, and we are starting to print past the major actual lows of our previous uptrend. So I do think Ethereum is going to be continuing downwards a bit further than where we are right now. But as I talked about last stream, where we talked about us wicking past this major high and reversing here and not having that retracement, we have done that perfectly fine. So I think we're continuing downwards. Brilliant. Cool. Solana. I haven't looked at Solana in a while. Oh, I have, but you know. Okay, yeah, cool. So this was the area. Let's see, daily. So I remember talking about this 176 as an area. I think that was because of individual kind of gap area, about 178 to 176. And basically, if you look at on the 4 hour and just looking at the entire gap, yes, we have had these retracements to the midpoints and whatnot. But again, remembering we wicked past that major high back here. Similar thing with Ethereum, where we have that relatively higher time frame high, which is of interest, but isn't like the major high or anything. Same thing here. We have this major high we talked about even back, you know, July time, whenever it was, which we whipped past really nicely. Didn't print or anything. Perfect. This is grounds for a potential reversal, and we have done so. And yes, we did have this retracement, but we are coming to these areas, and I think we will see some support here. But the difference is, I do think we are continuing downwards in this trend, especially on the daily, which is kind of the main trend-based area we want to be looking for. This is a failed move above here. And what I was saying with Solana was, oh, well, I'm not sure if we have this, you know, if we technically haven't done a new high, you know, we could potentially come up again. But we're getting very close to that 173. And once we get past 173.5 and we start printing, that's that proper downtrend stuff going on. That's us printing down and continuing. And with this gap, we don't really have much here at this 173. We do have some remainder here. We do have some lows. We do have something down towards 150. So I think what I was saying pretty much in this general for Solana, last stream anyway, was coming down towards these 157 areas and whatnot. But again, we are continuing downwards regardless. We are producing some big candles. We have had a nice expansion, nice retracement, nice expansion. So I don't think we're going to stop 176. I don't think we're going to stop at these areas. I think we are aiming for these lows more than happily, considering we haven't done a proper print above a major high. Again, we have slightly printed above this, but we are in this downtrend. We have come well past these gap areas. So I think 176 is a good stopping, or not stopping area, but an area to focus on. And we have so much more potential here. So I think if we continue this, we haven't really had much of a retracement. This sits also about 185. So I think we could stop around 176 area where we are, try and push up a bit more towards these high areas. But I think we go to the 1 hour for the major actual trend. We can see downtrend, uptrend, downtrend again. I don't think we're going to get anywhere near those areas. If we're stopping around 175, 176, the gap which sits again at around at this around, you know, between 178 and 181, the higher this gap is about 181.37, and also this gap sits at 180. So I think 180, 181 could be another high. I think we are continuing this downtrend. We do have a gap here. Actually, this sits a bit higher, to be fair, there with a midpoint about 180, like I said. So again, still stands 180 to 181. I think Solana could definitely sit at and do a new high here. But again, normal downtrend. And even if we do come past this, similar to how we have with Bitcoin, this is a massive resistance area, and we have hardly even wicked into it. On the 4 hours, well, hardly even really wicked into it. The major gap is this. We'll probably come past these highs and continue to use this gap. If we look at the major area here, you can see the midpoint's at about 187. So even then, I think we will continue to come to that area as well. But another thing to pay attention to as well is this here. This point at 186. If we start to print past 173, 176 should also become a resistance area as well. So I think we are just continuing downwards for Solana, and they're going to be, and probably will eventually print past 173. We're so close to there. I don't see what could stop us from coming towards that area, or I don't see what we could come to in this kind of price action, which would cause us to pump all the way up towards 208. I don't know what there is there. I don't think there's anything really from what I can see in that area. So I think we will continue down towards 173.28 and so on and so forth for Solana. In terms of a major low, I do think we could come towards 156 and all this sort of stuff. But if we look at the daily here, again, that's a major low we could aim for. Weekly wise, it does get a bit messy as we look here and we hide stuff. We can just look a bit better. We are kind of in this uptrend, major low sitting again 156. So that's another major area, but that concerns the daily and the weekly. So I think as of right now, as I remember drawing this last stream actually, this whole phase thing going on with all these order blocks and proportion blocks as we kind of cascade upwards on the weekly. You can see we wicked up into this. We didn't really officially engulf, and that's kind of why I think we slowed down a bit. So again, we do still have this support midpoint about 141. If we look at the weekly retracement in this uptrend anyway, we did come into this 150 area. But if we start to come down again, we could also break out this uptrend on the weekly. So yeah, again, another area could be 141, but let's bring that back a bit. This is the weekly. This will take some time to do and whatnot, and we can just look at it as it happens. So as I see it, 173 is probably going to get broken very soon for Solana as we continue downwards. And the concerning thing with Solana as well, we don't really have major gaps or major areas of support or anything. And I think if we get past the 173 in print and whatnot, yes, we do have a bit of a gap here, but we don't really have anything major. In terms of a daily major low to major high, even though we've done a failed swing and we haven't really done anything, we are having 171 as a support in this little gap. But again, we didn't print past this high. We didn't do a major high on the daily. So in terms of how the daily is concerned for its uptrend, we have failed. So we should be aiming towards to continue to come down for Solana. So yeah, 173, what I aim for. I would aim to continue downwards. If we go towards 173 and the area we are right now, I could expect retracement towards 180, 181, and then continue downwards. So yeah, do with that as you will. But Syrup, I know we are over about 3 minutes. This timer says otherwise. I think I started the stream a bit later anyway, so let's go to Syrup and look at how it's going. Pretty good. Again, this is it's just continuation of the same thing. I think, what did I talk about? So this is what I was talking about. Yeah, so this is pretty good. It's actually pretty good price action. So we were here. This is the candle we were talking about. So what I was saying was us coming up towards about 45 cents. We actually pretty much came to that nearly exactly, because again, we had this massive gap area. The optimum areas are sitting around there. We also have these, if you look at the intermediary candles, top of it about 44.96 as well in this general area. Also on the 1 hour, if we kind of come down a bit as well, we can see we had this sneaky little gap there, but the main gap was this here. And we can see we did kind of come up into it and come down, but to fulfill the rest of the thing, it was about 45.02, which is basically what we talked about last stream. Obviously, if you're there, you can vouch for me, obviously, and whatnot. But we did talk about us coming up into this 45 cent area, 45.5 general area, and then the low, the extreme top of this would be about 45. Again, lenient top sitting at around probably within this gap at about 45.7. Coming up towards about 46, but we did hit that top quite nicely and continue downwards. And again, the main thing in your downtrend, you aim for these internal highs, you do a lower high, and then what are you going to do in a downtrend? You do lower highs and you do lower lows. So we do this, and then we've come down, and then we didn't quite print down it, but again, it's still a new low with a wick. We did print past this, so we are continuing downwards. Same thing if we start looking at the normal TA. Let's go to the 1 hour here, doing from the highs to the low here. You can see we just about wicked up into above that equilibrium. Look at the major gap we had. We came to the midpoint of it. If I was to draw that quickly, we can see major void here. We come to the midpoint pretty much exactly. Again, Syrup has been really nice to me in terms of TA. Just about come to the midpoint of that. Really nice print. Wick just about above 0.5. So again, a good area to focus on. We have just about us coming up into this little volume imbalance, I think it's called. Again, smaller coins have this, just about coming up into there. And then the major thing here as well is us printing past these lows. And this is actually a very important thing as well. This is awful. I'm going to frame in here because I can't really see it. Actually, you can't see on the you can't really see it at all. I wanted to look at this trend to look for the breaker block. You can see we kind of come up, we kind of come down, come up again, and it's major. It's once you print past here, you want to aim for that previous range here, which we actually come back up into, and then obviously have that low down. But again, that's just like, I just wanted to see it on the 15-minute, but it's really rough because we're on the syrup here and the price is a bit choppy. Even on the 1 hour, we can still see these little gaps, but it doesn't matter, whatever. We've come past these lows. Same thing here. We had that trend downwards on the, where was it? 1 hour, I think I was looking at. Was it this? Where did I just draw? Was on, where am I? Oh, no, it was this. Okay, yeah, there we go. So main gap, move upwards, come downwards, and then we've used this off, so I'm just going to start deleting this because we've already used it. So looking at the 1 hour, we have this to here. Now with this low as well, we also had these previous gaps here, which were potential areas to focus on and doing new lows. So again, same thing we've looked at pretty much across the board. We want to aim to see where our next lows could be. Let's go to 4 hours, so it's a bit easier to look at. We had this previous gap, which I think we've already used. Yeah, so we've come to the midpoint of that and then come upwards. So we've used this gap. We have these wicks below us, which we're kind of wicking past, but the next thing there is this gap here, which we've actually just about come into. But if we draw the main void area, it is a bit lenient, so we can see it a bit more general, and that sits about where we are right now at this 40 cent, 39 cent area, which we've wicked to. So this doesn't necessarily mean I think this is the major low for syrup, because again, why are we talking about this? Well, we printed past this with this red line here. We come up into this gap at the optimum area, and we've been since this whole move, we've been talking about this since around here. We've talked about this move upwards. We've been talking about this on the way down the entire time. It's probably, you guys are probably a bit bored of me looking at syrup because I've been looking at this move the entire time. But as we've continued downwards, we're not really aiming for a new low, apart from 38.5. But we're in this downtrend. We should be aiming for lows coming towards about 38, 47, 38.50. And from what I can see of the TA, especially on the daily, we've had major expansion, tiny retracements, and then starting to do another major expansion. So we are continuing down with really good price action. So I do think taking that low is going to be really good continuation for syrup to aim for. So again, that's all I will really say. That's all I can say about syrup right now. I think for a little thing doing as we're doing right now, in terms of we've had this move downwards. We can see we had this move down. We had this move downwards to this move upwards, and then we've had this. We had this move downwards for this move upwards, and now we're having kind of this move to this move. Good. So I want to see it on the 4 hour though. It's a bit higher here. Again, it kind of sits in this area about 40 cents, I think it was, or 40, yeah, about 41 cent is where I think the general area was. Even if we look here as well, about 41 cent. So I do think, even if we I think the major thing for me would be about this gap, which is sitting again, like I said, about 41 cents. So that's probably another area I'd focus on. Are we reversing from this area? Well, you can see we've come to this midpoint of this gap, which we were looking at. We've had this downtrend pretty clearly, and we've had this massive expansion candle, which has printed us above this area and just shyly missed the print above this candle here as well. We can see massive expansion, wick past this, wick past the low. We have this gap as well we're coming back up into, and we have what will probably be an order block here on the 15-minute. Retracement coming anywhere below where we are at 40.29. I could expect us to maybe continue back upwards for this. We can see the whole move. We haven't really had anything printing past these highs until now. We've just about started to have this expansion. Again, this is probably the biggest expansion which actually resulted in something since maybe back here. But I think we could be on the grounds to start reversing for syrup as well. If we're considering this print, this is the major area as well. If we're looking for a breaker block anyway, this is the candle here as well, which is a midpoint also about the top of the order block, which is 40.27. So this whole 40.27 area is probably where I would focus on for us to, if we were to bounce, again, not financial advice, but if we are continuing this downtrend, we haven't printed past this low. We failed to come past this low. We even did it here. We failed to pass this low, and then we slow again, gap here. Filled it. We didn't do another low in terms of printing. We wicked past. We've just about kind of wicked past this low. We've also come to a massively higher time frame
support point. So the idea is we should maybe start to reverse again, and it looks like we might be showing signs on the 50 minutes to be doing that again. Changing state with printing past the candle bodies, coming back down into what could be an order block and this breaker block. We could continue to back upwards, and then that would be aiming towards about 41 cent, 41, 41.3, whatever the exact area is going to be on the 1 hour. Again, 41.20. So I think we're continuing down for slant for syrup anyway. Regardless of what I've just said, it's just going to be resulting in us aiming for those lows. So syrup is still down. The last one I will look at, I know I am over by a ridiculous amount, is Sui, because Tito might still be here. I'm not sure. Again, I've been talking for a long time. I wouldn't be surprised if he's left. So what were we looking at? We were looking at this. We were looking at this downtrend. I think I was looking at us taking this low. I think I was looking at... What was I looking at? I remember marking out this low. What did I draw? Did I draw any sort of retracement? I don't think I did. We had this move, we had this move, we had this move print, and then we've had this massive retracement. And again, this is a similar thing as well. It's like, oh, well, on the 1 hour, if we just draw the last high to the last low, this is the range here. But it's the same thing where, like, we can have moments where we don't really print too much and we just wick and still continue to downtrend. And if you go to the 4 hour as well, it's like same thing here. It's like we've just slightly printed above this high and we're still going down. So we can have these phases where we print and just kind of wick above the old high and continue downwards as we've filled this whole gap. But regardless, we've continued up above towards this equilibrium, and we've continued downwards. Nice, massive expansion downwards, and kind of continued downwards for Sui. Again, one of the things I was pointing out for Sui was the major print past this low, because again, we had this move, and then we had this expansion. Again, head and shoulder, whatever you call it, whatever you want to pay attention to, this is the major thing. And if we look at this as well, this major move, we've officially printed past this low, so now we're in this downtrend. This is now a breaker block. This last low, which gets engulfed, which we've now printed past, is also resistance, which we can see we've kind of printed on this midpoint at and continued downwards. So again, the major thing I've been talking about on the higher time frame is us not only just coming past this, but on the 4 hour, we've started this reversal really nicely. We had this bit of an uptrend, which allowed us to come into this gap area, and now we've started a downtrend. We should then, as on the higher time frames, on the high time frame, lower time frame, everywhere we're in a downtrend, we should be aiming for $3.26. And if we continue to do that, filling these gaps and whatnot, it sits at about $3.10, $3.26. I think the main area I talked about last stream. So $3.25 is probably an average area I would talk about Sui being coming to. And we're at $3.43. We're getting really close to be doing that anyway. So again, I think we're continuing downwards. Again, this is a same thing. Up and then we massive expansion and we filled this gap. It's the same thing here. We have this move. What I could expect, though, if we print past $3.26, like I said, this candle is going to be a breaker block. This candle here. So we could also see $3.68 as resistance again on the daily, weekly, high time frame stuff. But that's obviously in the future. As I see it right now, we're continuing downwards for Sui. Aiming for these lows again, and so on and so forth. So basically, obviously, Tito, I know this is the main coin I want to look at for, because I know you're interested in Sui. I will probably say Sui continuing to come down, as I've been saying in the past streams anyway. So Sui continuing downwards. Anyway, I am over by 50 minutes. This is the longest I've been over in a while now. I do apologize, but it is information which has to get out of my mouth, and it's what it is. So thank you all of you for being here. Appreciate you guys on YouTube. Binance Square, Binance Live. I haven't really read Binance Square too much. But I appreciate you, Kishan, as well, for keeping the spirit in the chat as well. So thank you guys. Let me read the YouTube chat one more time just to see what's going on. 109k next after this low. Yeah, 120k, 190k for Bitcoin. Yeah, that could probably be something I could expect. Again, if we come towards this 110k area, as I've already talked about, we have that major gap area, 120k. I've talked about this. Yeah, that's pretty much the chat. Yeah, so anyway, I'm going to end it here. Thank you. I know I've yabba-yabbered, but guess what is tomorrow, guys? Tomorrow is the quiz. Okay, so if you're in Square or Live, you don't know what I'm talking about. Basically, every Wednesday, pretty much. Maybe we sometimes miss one as a gap, but pretty much every Wednesday we do a stream where you guys can come along and talk in the YouTube chat and answer questions, answer quiz questions, Jeopardy style, normal style, and if you come in the top 3, you can potentially win crypto. So that is kind of the main thing there, and it's all built within YouTube. So you literally just type a number and you play the game. It's been an arduous process to build, but it is very interactive. You just come to YouTube and play. You don't need to sign up to anything. You just come to YouTube. You make sure you have a Google account so you can actually sign into YouTube, and you literally can just play straight away. So if you're new to the channel or new to it, I would highly recommend coming along tomorrow to join the quiz, because it is a lot of fun. We've just recently added a Jeopardy style question, so if you guys know what Jeopardy is and you enjoy Jeopardy, we do have some Jeopardy questions, which we did last stream. It confused some people. Some people were unsure about the Jeopardy and weren't convinced. I know Kishan likes it a lot. Shout out to Kishan who's in the chat, but it is a lot of fun, so I would recommend doing that. Other than that, again, Telegram links, all sorts of stuff, descriptions. I'm done. Okay, I've talked to you guys long enough, kept you guys long enough. So hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. If it is the morning time, great rest of your evening, rest of your night. Have a great tomorrow, whatever it is. Have a great one. Kishan is bro, you're the best. No, Kishan, you're the best. All right, thank you, appreciate you, man. Love you too, Kishan. Opening Jeopardy style, please. Yeah, I like it. I know you like it, Kishan. I like Jeopardy style. I don't know if the majority hate it or like it. I don't know, but I like it, and I think it's pretty fun to do. So anyway, we will keep it. I'm not gonna let people shy away from the Jeopardy questions. So thank you, all of you, being here. Appreciate you all. I'll be back tomorrow for the quiz with Mike. And TA wise, I'll be back Thursday. So if you do not care about the quiz and stuff, if you're square, you're like, I do not care about this guy's quiz or whatever he's talking about, but the TA wasn't bad, I will be back Thursday with some more TA, same time, same place. So if you do want to come back on the stream, I will have a look at how Bitcoin's going. I probably expect the majority of what we've talked about to start to play out or have already played out by Thursday. So if you do want to come along Thursday and have a look at what I've talked about, I would recommend coming along Thursday. Should be there for tomorrow's quiz. Hopefully, I will hope you will be there and see it, because again, it is pretty fun. So I would recommend not only researching your answers and whatnot, but I would also recommend researching the Jeopardy style, because it might throw you off. Oh, you probably know what Jeopardy is. I like Jeopardy. What I said during the stream though, I never understood how it worked until a lot later in life than I would have hoped of, because I never really looked into it. It never really made sense. But I do like it now. It's not very hard to pick up, but once you understand it, it is a lot of fun. So yeah, they are pretty fun questions, and people liked it. There were some people who didn't like it, but they have to suck it up, All brains vote for your age. If that is you saying I'm, if you're calling me old and forgetful, or whatnot, then no, thank you. But if you're saying appreciative age, thank you, Kishan. Thank you very much. Or if you're saying you're got old brains, then I don't know, whatever you mean. Thank you. And that's it. I'm just trying to think. I don't have anything else to say. Thank you all. Appreciate you all. Come on to the quiz. I'll be here tomorrow and Thursday. Thank you. Goodbye.